Jets fan, I bet.
So,
Giants.
no,
Don't say Cowboys. Redskins.
Green Bay.
Oh, okay, that's okay. That's
My girlfriend's diehard Giants. Got
Okay.
the tattoo and everything.
Oh, cool. That's hardcore. A real tattoo? Welcome to the program. Today we're in Catskill, New York. We're going fishing with professional bass angler Pete Gluszek at the Hudson River Challenge. Now, I know what you're saying at home. We fish for recreational purposes, not tournaments. But you know what? It's okay, because this is to benefit the USO, and it's a good cause. So let's go to Lunkerville.
It seems in every town in America that there's a secret fishing spot where the water runs clear and the bass are always biting. And at that spot, there's an unsung hero who knows every stump, laydown, and lily pad. Seems all he's got to do is wet a line. And sure enough, he's reeling in a big bass. So if you're looking for real people with real fish stories, then hop a ride. We're going to Lunkerville.
We're back at O'Henry's, eating some hot dogs. And I know everyone wants to go fishing. This is a fishing show, after all, but we've had a little delay today. See, Pete just drove 10 hours to get here. He's coming directly from the Bassmaster Lake Erie Open, where he fished to an impressive second-place finish. Way to go, Pete. Very nice. The problem is, we had this dude that was going to drive him here, while Pete got some sleep in his truck, but the driver never showed. He had some kind of mishap, whatever that means. So Pete, being the stand-up guy that he is, drove himself 10 hours to get here for this tournament to benefit the USO. Wow, that is one dedicated fisherman, ladies and gentlemen.
Due to circumstances beyond our control, we have a limited amount of time this afternoon. And you know, I'd ideally, we're in a great place. Hudson River is awesome. This time of year when the leaves are changing, this is the time to be here, and that's what we have. But to go to some of the areas that I would really like to go to take us about 20 or 30 minutes each way, up and back, which is a big investment of time considering what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But right here, we're at Catskill Creek, the Catskill Creek estuary. We have some great pieces of cover here that I don't get a chance to fish that much. Because usually we launch here and we're trying to get away from the field. And you know, so I can see a couple places right now that these fall transition largemouth might be getting involved with. So yeah, let's not burn any gas. Let's put the trolling motor down and fish as much as we can and see if we can put it to these guys.
This is the thing, we're in a tournament here. We have 2 hours to fish, only 2 hours. Everyone else has had 6 hours more than us. So do what Pete says. He knows things.
I don't know if we have a back eddy here, but it looks like the tide's going out. It's not supposed to be that way.
So we had high tide
according
at
to my
10:40 or something? Is that what you told me?
They told me low tide was at 10 o'clock here at Catskill.
I have a tide chart on my iPhone.
What's it say?
Let's check it out. Okay, here we go. 10:37 was high tide. AM.
Okay.
And then low tide is 5:05.
So he gave me the exact wrong information.
Exact opposite.
Exact opposite.
Which is good for us.
Right. Maybe he's dyslexic.
Or maybe he's trying to sabotage you.
And maybe so.
Because you're the man.
That's right. He's trying to win the tournament from us.
Oh, jeez.
Well, good. We've got 10 o'clock was high.
Yeah.
So now we're 2 hours into outgoing, which is nice.
Sweet.
And by the end of this tournament, we'll be seeing just about the last hour of outgoing tide, which is sweet.
And why is that sweet?
Well, what happens is as the tide falls, it takes all the bait fish, all the critters that bass feed on that have moved up with the tide. Now it concentrates them into much more predictable locations as the tide becomes low. So they just become easier to find. Bait's concentrated, the predators are concentrated. For the show, would you be more interested in catching 2-pounders, 3-pounders, or 5-pounders?
That's not a question to ask me. I like catching bluegill. I just want to catch something. If you tell me we're going to catch fish, I'm happy. I think he's serious, actually.
This little place right here is one of the classic fall transition places. It's just a hard rock outcropping in the middle of a big grass flat. And what happens is as the bait and everything starts making its migration towards the creeks, the predators will hold up right on these current breaks, these rock piles, and they'll just dart out and eat them. This one can potentially put out some fish. It's combination of all the tournaments that are held here, the fish are released and they kind of stay in the area, and there's just a lot of fish moving towards Catskill Creek. So,
and we're talking just largemouth or smallmouth?
You can find both. You can find both here. The river's really coming on with respect to smallmouth. Used to be total largemouth factory. That was it, and now the smallmouth really have come on strong, and they've almost matched the largemouth. So we could catch either. The largemouth more than likely are going to be caught pinned up right on the rocks. Smallmouth will probably be caught and spread out over this grass flat all around us.
And what kind of bait are we going to use?
Well, the fall crankbait, fall Hudson River crankbait. That's the way to go here, and we're going to start with that. And really, I'll use a power finesse approach, and that's what I'm going to try to do with the both of us. Is one of us gets a little bit more aggressive, the other one throws something a little bit smaller, a little bit more subtle, so that when we work through the areas, you know, we'll be accessing both types of situations. So that's what I always try to do. I do that by myself. Normally what I would do, I'd fish around with a crankbait and then I'd fish around once with some type of soft plastic. But being as I have you here, I'm gonna put you to work.
Let's do it. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
What we have here is a shaky head. We're using a Senko as a trailer. This is a great little tool anywhere in the country. Can work real well here on the Hudson, and we've got about a 1/4 ounce lead on here, and the approach to this is simply you're going to be casting it up to the rocks and working it back. You're going to be concentrating on the little eddies. You'll see the little calm spots that the current creates coming around this rock pile. Sometimes the fish can be right up there on the first rock you see. Sometimes they're out. The rocks come way out off of this little rock pile. So you basically get it up, let the current drift it downstream, reel it up and cast it again. And there's a $5 charge if you catch a fish before I do.
That's a deal.
Well, we've got some pretty good visibility here. The water looks brown. This rain has obviously affected it. It's not usually this brown. And
so I should cast right at the rocks?
Yeah,
right to the rocks?
Well, just cast up here in these eddies. What I'll do a lot of times, like, you know, you're gonna kind of want to sneak up to them. And I'll throw out here and way back off in these eddy currents, and this is where you're most likely to encounter a smallmouth, is back here off the rocks. A lot of guys just go right up to the rocks and throw, but those smallmouth, they can be anywhere. The Hudson River is a tidal river system. It's known for big fish. It's known for putting out some big bags of largemouth over the years, and of course it runs down through New York City. And I guess it runs up above Albany quite a bit. And there's locks at Albany, which basically that's where the tidal flow stops. So it's a tidal river system. It has about a 5 or 6 foot tidal swing. So that means it has access to the ocean. And so you get lots of different things running up in here. You have herring runs that come up in here, and the stripers come up in here, and you have all different types of forage. Nice! That's
He's no keeper though.
He's a smallmouth.
Well,
he's a smallmouth.
Do I sell you $5? So what is how big or how small, or what's the minimum length?
It's a 12 inch. Whoa! It used to be a 12-inch minimum, but they have upped it to 15 inches. So you're probably going to need 3 of them, nose to tail, to get to 15. But that's a good start.
Hey, good start. There's something. Yeah, you know.
You got to start at the beginning.
So how you fishing that jig there, Pete?
You're mimicking a crawfish that's scurrying amongst the rocks. So you want to let it get down to the bottom. That's one key. I find a lot of guys make the mistake of not letting the baits actually get down, and that's very important. And then I'll just work it back to the boat. I use you know, pretty basic, simple retrieves. These fish are pretty aggressive. Once they, you know, identify the food, they're going to come and get it. So I let it hit the bottom. That's where, from where the cast is till it hits the bottom is where most of the strikes are going to come. And then I'll simply pull it through the rocks like I did there. I let it get back down to the bottom on a slack line. That's key. You don't want to cause a taut line because that'll cause the bait to pendulum back to the boat. You want to let it fall on a slack line so it falls right down into the eddy, right down into the piece of cover you're fishing. And you want to pay attention to that slack line. You want to look at it and you want to feel it. You want to have a good graphite rod, you know, some sensitive line so that when on that slack line, when that fish hits it, boom, you can feel that thump. Your line will jump, your rod will jump, and you know you've had a bite. So it's a key thing to pay attention to is during that fall, because that's when those strikes are going to come. And I just hop it back, hop it over the rocks, let it drift down with the current, and you get caught up in the grass here a little bit. But what I'm using is a little football head jig, which it seems to have found somebody else's fishing line. It's just a little football head. That's actually a Kitech jig with a pocket crawl trailer. Great little compact jig, great jig for largemouth or smallmouth. That is key, especially on places like the Hudson that have both species. I always try to use tools that can generate strikes equally well from largemouth and smallmouth.
So is that mostly the size of it?
Sometimes, like a big jig is great for largemouth, not so good for smallmouth. So when you're fishing with a big jig, a lot of times you're eliminating strikes, potential strikes from smallmouth, which is cutting your effectiveness in half on a place like this. So when I'm up at Lake Erie, and or mainly Lake Champlain, not so much Erie. Erie is really a smallmouth dominated fishery, but Champlain, the smallmouth or largemouth can win a tournament. Here, smallmouth and largemouth are a big factor, so you want to try to generate strikes from both species, so I always try to do that.
Here's a good one. Oh no! Oh,
that was a 15-inch bass. Did
that
you
was
see
a
him?
good one. Ah!
Caught me off guard.
Oh.
Yeah, what I like to do, which is kind of goes against the grain, is what I call it is back drifting. And what it does is it gives the fish a completely different look. The textbook says you point your nose into the current and you cast upstream and you reel downstream. And that's true. You definitely are going to draw strikes like that. But by doing a back drift like we're doing now, my foot's off the trolling motor, we're silently drifting down, and I'm presenting the baits a lot of times in a more natural presentation as I'm allowing them to drift down with me. And it gives the fish a completely different look. And until I go up into the current and I turn right around and I do a back drift, until you've done both of those things, you're really not done fishing this point. You're really not accessed everything that's available to you. And that's how I fish this type of place on any river system, especially this time of year. It's a good fish. This is a good one.
Oh yeah. You need net? Where's the net?
Net's tucked away. We got a hand land on it.
Oh, that's a horse. Oh, yeah, beauty.
That's a Hudson River bass right there.
Nice
That's
fish.
a chunk.
Nice chunk. Okay, we're in it.
We're on the board, baby.
Yeah, baby. Sweet.
There's two strategies, there's really two types of personalities on the tidal river system that are very effective and win. Now, you know, I'm the first type where I'm a run and gun guy. I'll pull up on a rock pile like this, I'll fish it with a crankbait, I'll fish it with a jig or a worm, and then I go right up to the next one. Okay, if the fish is there, he's going to be aggressive, I'm going to catch him. If he's unaggressive or he's not there, I won't get the bite and I move, and I'll come back later. And then you have the other style, which is the grab and hold. They'll pick a spot like this, which is a great point along a migration route, and they will literally circle this all day long, catching a bite an hour, a bite every 2 hours, and at the end of the day, they may come in with a good stringer of fish.
So you'd stay at the spot all day?
There are people right now in this tournament that have started on a spot, and they're still there right now, 5, 6, 7 hours later, and they'll be there till the end of the day.
And they'll catch 6 keepers at least?
Well, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. They might not, but what they're gambling is that they will, you know, and it's kind of a, you know, to me, I don't like that type of strategy because you're gambling on one spot, you're gambling on one set of conditions, and you know, I much prefer the run and gun approach to this type of fishing. This is a little bit different. This is more of a vertical wall presentation versus the other one was a gradual 45-degree bank. So this one, you want to get your bait. The fish are going to be right up there. They're going to be right tight to it. So you really want to get your bait up to it and work it just a foot or two off the wall and reel it in and make the next cast.
Oh, here we go. That's a good one.
Oh, it's another borderline keeper. Oh, he's going to come up a little short.
Yeah, you can help me with that. He's 15, right?
We're going to find out. Come on, B15.
B15, come on. I think he's just 15.
He's going to be close. It's a nice fish. It's a chunk. Oh yeah, I think he's gonna be 15 seconds.
He's under?
I don't know, as I said, I think he's gonna make it.
Oh.
Oh, 15 and a quarter,
Sweet!
Nicely done.
One more.
Who needs 8 hours?
We got 35 minutes. How long is it gonna take us to get back to the weigh-in?
5 minutes.
Okay, so we got...
Yeah, we're right there.
30 minutes, right there.
Nice catch.
Yes! So Pete, you're living the dream that a lot of our audience has, and that's professional bass fishermen. How did you do it? How do you maintain it? Is it hard?
Yeah, you know, it is a dream. I mean, I didn't really think that it would happen to me. I mean, I was an engineer for about 6 years, just doing this, fishing these tournaments like we're fishing today, just for fun, fish the Federation stuff. That's really how I got my start, is the Bass Federation. And I just found that, you know, I was an athlete my whole life, and I just excelled at fishing. You know, it's the competitiveness of it. I loved to fish ever since my dad took me when I was 4. And that's how really I got my start, because one of the guys that I worked with, who was also very talented, him and I decided to try the bass, what they used to call invitationals, which was the qualifiers for the top 100 at the time. And after the first year, I was ranked as one of the top 100 in the world, really. And when that happened to me, I had to make a decision. Mm-hmm. You know, was I going to continue to be an engineer, or was I going to go for it? And I thought, well, you know, I have my education, I have my experience. Nobody can take that from me. You only live one time. You know, let me take a year off and see how this goes. And you know, so I went after it, and I took a year off, and I found myself qualified for the Bassmasters Classic after the first year, and I was rookie of the year with the Bassmasters. And that was back in '97. And here it is, 13 years later, and I'm still on a leave of absence.
One more fish should be good.
Yeah, that'd put us over to home.
I think so. Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
This is money fish right here, baby.
Oh. Come on, baby. Yes.
Chunk, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go collect our check.
Let's do it. That was clutch. Man, you're good. You should be a pro. Guys like you should be pros.
Whew, I fumbled a little bit with the landing, but we got 5 minutes.
Okay, let's
go about 2 miles.
This guy's got a clipboard. I think he's the checking guy. Oh yeah.
Couple of chunks.
Oh, there's some weight there.
Pete Gluszek and Mike the Avila.
Yeah.
Mike D.
Yeah.
You're Mike. I know Pete. Pete, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. This is
cool.
Heidi, Miss USO
Hey.
2000.
Hello, Heidi.
Hey,
how are you?
Set your fish right up here. Mike, pay attention.
Okay. Okay. What do I do here?
Right. Set your
Right in
fish
there.
right
Take
here.
them right out.
No,
Take them out the back. Okay. I'm a little slow.
Heidi's got you for
I'm new. I'm warm.
We're rookies at this.
3 fish, 3
I'll
alive.
help you.
Thank you.
And they're going to weigh in at 10.20.
Yeah. 10. That's not bad.
Respectable catch.
Respectable. I caught this fish. You saw it.
You're very tall.
I've got help.
Well, in true Lunkerville style, Pete and I finished in 26th place. One spot out of the money. Figures. But hey, I had a great time with Pete, and I want to thank him for driving all that way to fish with me. And if you all at home want to see what Pete's up to, go to his website, petegluszek.com, and check out his seminars at thebassuniversity.com. And I also want to thank Nick Albano, the Bergen Bassmasters, and the United Service Organizations for supporting our troops.